Okay.
Looks like live.
It looks like that. Hello, everyone. Today I have the real pleasure to be joined by Cosimo Marafa, who is a speaker, a coach, and a trainer. And we wanted to go into this discussion together today to discuss some things that are very relevant to the challenging and unprecedented times that we are going through recently with the onset of the pandemic. So, Cosimo, welcome to the show and to this Facebook Live. It's we spoke last year for the podcast, and it's great to see you again. It's been a while, my friend.
Hi, Agi. I'm very pleased and privileged to be on your show and can't wait to have a chat with you.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Okay. I wanted, first of all, just give me your thoughts really on what's the situation. How do you see things from your point of view as a coach, and also because you do live in Germany, you have a very different perspective than me here, who am in the UK, and so on. So just give us an overview of that, and then we'll start.
Actually, that's a pretty personal question, but I will answer. Um, I think in reality, the real truth about what's behind and what's the meaning out of it
Mm-hmm.
will come out in future. That at the moment you have 50 or 100 versions you can go for,
Yeah.
and a lot of them seem plausible, but what's the real deal we will see in future. That's what I think.
You're very right. You're very right. So, shall we start with something that is happening? It happens always, really, to us, but I think even more during these times, and that's the automatic negative thoughts when we get into a loop of thinking things that we rather didn't. Uh, so, when you coach, how do you advise people to deal with that?
Absolutely. Um, there is a difference between being calm and being full of trust.
Hmm.
If you are calm, there is a little thing what helps to understand a little better the meaning of being calm. If you're outside, maybe in the forest, having a picnic, there is coming a honeybee your way, there are different reactions from people. There
Okay.
is people like when they see a honeybee, they go like crazy and they do like this, and it's very not,
Yeah.
not really calm. Then
Hmm.
there is other people who say, "Hey, I'm in the forest picnicking. It's their home. If I don't hurt them, they will not hurt me," and they stay calm. And for normally, everything goes pretty good. And then there is this thing of trusting that if I'm there, if I'm just enjoying the forest, I I can live without getting hurt from the honeybee. And that's one little difference between being calm and trusting, really believing that it will not hurt me. Maybe at this moment also, you can have around a lot of honeybee or maybe other animals
Hmm.
who could let you go crazy, but what's the meaning I'm giving to it? I'm trustworthy that it's going to be good at the end. Or it was interesting hearing from you this thing of ANG, the automatic negative thoughts, or ANG in Germany, automatic
Okay.
negative Gedanken, and ANT, and automatic negative thoughts. I learned this actually from Sandra Bravo. She's coach, high-end coach, and it's interesting how we think that we have automatic thoughts, but in reality, it's what we feed our mind, then it will come up. And the meaning is about flooding our mind with positive thoughts. And sometimes it can be that we have negative thoughts. And there is this saying of stand guard at the door of your mind,
Mm-hmm.
to not let come, or you have to be careful what comes in or what the meaning is you give to. And last week I was on a Facebook Live talking about this, and just in that moment, on my right side passed a police car.
Mm-hmm.
And that was interesting because the police, if there is something negative or something criminal, something like that, they take care of them. They give them a ticket, they take them to prison, whatever. And maybe this is a good picture to think about. If there is some negative thoughts, maybe we should send some kind of police to say, hey, that's not the right place for you, go out. And then flood our mind with positive thoughts. And if you want two nice ideas, what I heard, how you can do it, some have on their phone an album they call Feel Well album.
Mm-hmm.
So you have pictures in it from past holidays, or maybe from vision board pictures, or whatever you think gives you a good feeling and a positive feeling. And the second album you could have is a Feel Well audio album or music album. For everybody, there is music, what helps us to feel good and to feel energized. If there is some negative thoughts, we take this album, picture album, if we can't make any music, and maybe music album if we can put some earplugs or something like that, and then use that to flood our mind with positive thoughts.
That's great. So you're saying that the more that we listen to the news and all the negativity there, the more automatic negative thoughts we will have, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
So we have to replace that feed in our mind with all this negativity with some positive things instead.
Yeah.
I think one challenge that I suppose many people have in doing that is to realize that they are in the process of automatic negative thoughts, because as the phrase says, they are automatic. So many people are not aware, are not conscious of it, so the mind starts playing the tape of the negative thoughts, and we ride along with it, and before we know it, it's been 2 or 3 minutes and we keep on thinking deeper and deeper. And I think that is, for some people, a challenge to break that at some point, and be aware that this is happening. Any tips on that?
Yeah, absolutely. There is this thing of the story of the farmer who kept sowing with tears on his eyes.
Mm.
It's a very interesting story. And they ask always, why did he continue to sow, to put seeds in his ground when he was crying?
Mm-hmm.
So he had a hard time. It was some emotional challenge. It was some physical challenge. It was some other challenge he had, but he didn't stop to see it because he knew what will come when he can reap.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something that can help us if we today maybe have difficult times with negative thoughts, and we try to send the police and send it out and reflood ourselves with positive thoughts. If we see that the end we will reap good stuff, we'll be like this farmer who doesn't stop to put out his seeds and looks at what's behind all of it.
That's great. That's fantastic. And of course, there are some other things that we can do to get out of that negative mental loop is to change our physiology as well, isn't it? Our body stance, or, do some kind of exercise. And also the language that we use, the kind of wording that we use to describe a negative situation, which can have a big impact on how severe it looks to us, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Do you want to discuss, because consequences of our thoughts are our emotions.
Mhm.
So when we have negative thoughts, inevitably they will lead to negative emotions, which are even more challenging to get back from and switch them. Because thoughts, we can kind of stop them easily, but once you start feeling a deep negative emotion, it can be a little bit more challenging
Yeah.
to change that. So what's your thoughts on that?
Actually, sometimes it's kind of a roller coaster.
Yes.
And there is this thing of the crazy eight, if you can call it like this, and it's very crazy. You go out on YouTube, and some of the most video you find, it's what do I do during these boring times during Corona, and it's weird how somebody can get bored. For me, I respect if somebody has this thing
I'm
and he.
surprised as well that someone would be bored. I mean, they probably don't have interesting things to do.
Yeah, I can see the books behind you. We have so much knowledge we can take care and we can learn and we can figure. But if we have this crazy eight, let's
Okay.
call it this way, maybe we are bored, and then we are down at one side, and then we try to go up, up, up. Maybe instead of bored, we get somehow angry, then we get aggressive, and then we get down in another spiral, and then we get up, angry, 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 and we're down to bored, and then we change and have always this crazy eight. Actually, this is what we can see in the news. If we go outside and watch always news, it's always this crazy eight about a lot of stuff. It's a little bit of hope, and then it goes down, and then more dying, and very
Kinderwitz all.
It's a crazy eight. You can have it from outside, from the news, or from whatever is on my feed, or I can have an internal crazy eight. And the goal should be that we have not really this roller coaster stuff, but we can have a more, what is more controlled. So we decide what emotions we have, that we are grateful, that we are loving, that for me, for example, I appreciate a lot that I have my wife, that we can have more time together, that we can work on projects we didn't in the last few months because there is too much stuff going on. And so we focus on different things that gives us a good meaning. Yesterday we had date night, and we do all this crazy stuff. It's very different than the negative crazy eight, what you can see in our news. They say right now they have homeschooling, they have home office, they have home fighting.
What's that? Home
Home
fighting.
fighting, like when a husband beats his wife.
Oh,
And I think that's very crazy. I'm in my home. I want to be in a peaceful environment, and then I do crazy stuff like that. So I don't do that, but people do that. They get bored, then they beat, and it's must. It's a lot more meaningful if you have something not so crazy and having nice times, date nights, putting up the next project on, and That's the thought about the Crazy Eight.
Okay, I'm just still trying to understand because I get what you're saying about the boredom and angry and going like that. How can you change that if you get trapped in such a loop that goes between two negative emotions? Uh, how do you swap out of it and go into a different one?
Okay, everybody of us has his own Crazy Eight, and
More
actually,
than one, I suppose. It's not just one, isn't it? It's
yeah. And it depends on what reaction, with whom you are, and what you're dealing with, and one of the strategies you can do to go out of this Crazy Eight is to be aware that you have it. So if I'm conscious, I have it, okay, I know I have a problem. Then I write down, I have this Crazy Eight and I am aware that I have it. Then I go back to 5 times when I had it in my past and realize, how did I come out of it?
okay.
And you have the situation, you have the solution, and then you focus, okay, if now I want to focus more on the solution, how can I do it? So that's the system. You write down your 5 most challenging times, your 5 most big crises in your life or in your family or in your business or whatever, then how you came out of it and what you can do today similar to reach your next goal. So that's the thing to come out of the Crazy Eight.
Okay. It's generally, I would just add to that the emotions, the first thing we need to do is just to identify it. So name it, just give it, I'm feeling angry, for example. If you are, you have to identify it, give it a name and acknowledge it that way. Because it's our emotions usually are not about what we experience. It's about how we think about or how we interpret our experience, isn't it? So if what you said, the first thing about the bee in the forest, it's the same experience, but one would feel calm, the other would feel panicked because of the way that he interprets this experience. So it's useful from my point of view always to be able to take a step back and identify what it is that we're feeling and then start to acknowledge what may be causing it. Is it a thought? Is it a belief? Is it something in the past or whatever it may be?
Yeah. And I was thinking about this Chinese sign about crisis. Very interesting that in the same sign of Chinese signing of crisis is the word chance.
Yeah, opportunity, yes.
Opportunity. So how do I see the crisis right now? Do I see it at a chance? And what an experience from Donald Trump can teach us is like there was this saying that if you take the money away from everybody, okay, you take the money from everybody, everybody is on zero and starts from very zero. They say that after a few months or years, everybody has the same situation as before. Why?
Absolutely.
It's because of our way of doing things. So if we really are aware, if there's some room of improvement, we know that the room of improvement is the biggest room in the universe. And maybe we can now take the time to improve on some steps, what after all of this can help us to go to our next level.
Absolutely. I think this is a perfect opportunity for self-education, learn things that maybe we always wanted to learn, and even more importantly, probably learning about ourselves, about looking inside of us and realizing who we are. And how we behave, and I know that you are also very passionate about personal development, as I am, and I think it's a unique opportunity with all the time that we have in our hands now to utilize that and actually improve the room of how did you call it, the biggest room in the universe. Indeed, I like that. Cosimo, do you want to speak a little bit about something different than that? And that's a consequence of what's happening now with the coronavirus. It's the moving or the transitioning of many businesses or many jobs from in person to online. And obviously, not all the jobs can be done online, but many, especially the ones that are related to computer work, can be done from home, this virtually. So I understand that you had similar, the same challenges and with your business. So let's talk about that as well. What's your thoughts? What's your advice? Any tips?
Actually, I was experiencing it in the past years.
Mm-hmm.
I gave about 250 funeral talks in the past 3 years, and in this environment, when you talk with the families, it's very common that they need to do it in person because it's a very serious thing. Okay. I was one of the first in our area who started to do the first conversations more like on the phone or on video calling. And then when it's really to going to bringing the loved one to the grave, be there in person. For some, it was a little bit strange, but when they saw that you can transmit love and your energy also through the phone and through a video call, a lot of them said, wow, at the end, it was the best thing what could happen because it was perfect.
Mm-hmm.
And now with this situation, it's getting normal. Everybody prefers to talk on the phone to not have any or not more than needed situation to have some something that you can contagious others or whatever. I think it's kind of helpful for a lot of people to appreciate the technology we have and how we can use it to improve, to have also meaningful conversations and relationships over this kind of technology. And actually, I think a lot of coaches right now have to transfer their business to online and have to show their clients that it is possible. There are maybe some new strategies, some new technologies, and some new techniques you need to really get on the to send the right information. But it's a very interesting and for me very profitable way to go on to the next level.
I think indeed, and these times and this big change that is happening will allow people. No, actually, it's going to people who are able to adapt to that and make changes themselves in the way they conduct their business or in the way that they conduct their life really will be able to go through and go to the other side of it even better than before, because I remember that phrase that with every big adversity comes an equal opportunity. But the thing is that that opportunity means that we have to change our ways. And if we're used to doing something in a same way for 10 years, 20 years, it might be a little bit more challenging, but we have to adapt and change with the times. We can't cling on to the past because it's not going to lead us anywhere that we would like to. Things are changing, and that's inevitable now with the social distancing and everything. It's not going to be the same, at least for a while. I don't. So need to adapt.
Yeah, I love this um, this thing of the words give meanings, and sometimes we need this TV or this transformational vocabulary.
Yes.
And I love this transformational vocabulary for social distancing.
Yeah.
Actually, it's not really a social distancing, it's more a physical distancing right now.
You are right.
So it's interesting that sometimes we can, even with our own communication, we get this from media. They teach us to say like this. But if we have this TV, this transformational vocabulary, we can give it a meaning that it's even more empowering.
Yeah, no, you're so right, because socially you can still have social relationships like that virtually. But certainly with what's going on, the virtual bonding of people or the connections, the online connections would be much more strong, because it's really the only feasible way for the time being to be social, to communicate, and also coming back to what we were saying, to conduct your business. Is there any? So you said that you started your own coaching online a while back. Any advice for people that are just faced with this new situation and they had never thought about going online? Anything that might help them with the transition?
Very good question. I think if you are somehow struggling with it, the best way to see it is that the other side also maybe have been in situations that wasn't really their best way of doing it. So everybody has the same situation. We're in the same situation. We can look and watch videos from whom inspire us. So we see how they do it, and then we see how we can imitate. And I think that's the easiest way to, how say, it's the saying of Nike, just do it.
Yeah, model people who are doing it already. Get allow yourself to get inspired and trained and even coached by those people, and allow that to help you move on. Um, Cosimo, I want to thank you very much for this conversation that we had. I hope that during these difficult times that people are having, or these unusual times, there has to be a positive message, a knowledge, some positivity being spread out, and that's contrary to what's happening with the media. What you said earlier about feeding your mind with either negative or the positive, and the more we have these kinds of conversations and information out there, the more people can have less of a negative thoughts and more positive thoughts that things will be all right. Humanity will manage. It's we'll go through to the other side. It just I want to thank you very much for your time and for your comments. Is there anything you would like to add? Any parting words?
I think for me, this story, I don't know if I have a little more minute to share the story about
As
the
many as you want, Cosimo.
No, I don't. I want to keep it short. It's this interesting story about the Empire State Building. I don't know if you heard
No, I haven't.
how you heard it and
No, I haven't.
how they built it. So it was 1930. So it's not exact year, but interesting thing. If you hear and read in internet how long they took to build this building, it was 18 months.
Oh,
And this is a tall building.
wow.
And it was in times of depression. And it's very interesting when they go back and think why they built it so fast and why the worker were so so powerful in building the building. So they discovered that the men who were building it, they were hungry. They were so hungry themselves and their families that they feeded them if they worked. Sometimes we can ask ourselves if we are going to rebuild our next tall building, our next Empire State Building. By the way, Empire State Building had his name from New York, what's nicknamed Empire State. So they called it Empire State Building. So we can ask ourselves, how do I act right now? I am acting out of no resources, or do I act out of I'm hungry to reach the next level, the next high building, and I'm really going to work for it? Or maybe we can take the story of the Empire State Building to build our next level of business and do something like famous like the Empire State Building.
Yeah, it's great story and metaphor, and when you are hungry, you have more motivation, and not necessarily physically hungry. You could be hungry on a different level, hungry for more. And you mentioned something about resources, and I will just quote Tony Robbins, who says always, "There's never a lack of resources. There's only lack of resourcefulness." So the resources are there.
Yeah, absolutely.
We just need to use our resourcefulness to utilize them.
Yes.
Fantastic. Cosimo, once again, thank you very much for your time and for your message. I wish you all the best. We'll keep in touch anyway with our endeavors, and take care. All the best. Keep helping people. Keep spreading the positive message, and we'll speak again soon.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much. All the best.
Ciao.